Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Dear researchers and students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this new episode in Research Method Confusing Concepts Clarified about how to identify a research gap in thesis, dissertations, or articles. We know that the journey of researchers conducting research either for their thesis or articles basically begins with the identification of a research gap, which is the unaddressed or unexplored topic or subtopic of their interest. Being unaddressed or unexplored limits the reachability to the conclusion of a question or problem. This is the first lecture of our three-lecture series about operationalizing a research gap. In the first lecture, we will have a look at limitation-based signal words or phrases that the authors use to introduce the research gaps that are present in their studies. The second lecture will focus on future recommendation-based signal words or phrases. Then finally, in the third lecture, we will learn about the tricks with practical examples that we can use to identify research gaps in lengthy theses or articles using these signal words or phrases that we learned during first and second part of this series. Research gaps are present in almost every research article, but they are spread out in different sections of the research article, and the authors do not introduce research gaps under separate headings or in separate sections of articles or theses. So to identify a research gap in an article or thesis, a researcher must be able to notice the signal words or phrases that the authors use to present the research gap in their study. These signal words or phrases act like torchbearers for the researchers in the journey for research gaps. These signal words are like the indicators we develop for operationalizing a construct. So we can say that these signal words operationalize the research gap. And the sentences that contain these signal words or phrases may also contain the research gap for you. Finally, if the researchers can notice these indicators of research gaps, I guarantee that they can identify several research gaps in a single article. In today's lecture, we will have a look at these limitation-based signal words. So let's start and become conversant with these indicators and make our journey to the research gap easier. Some authors use the words and phrases like not been studied, clarified, reported, or elucidated, limited, poorly, not engaged with, cannot provide, beyond the scope, based on to introduce the research gaps that are present in their studies. Other researchers use the words and phrases like potential problem, scope is too broad, beyond the scope, key question is or remains, main error, lack of source of uncertainty, or problematic to represent the research gap that is present in their study. Some authors use the words or phrases like not well reported, required to, limitations, not evaluate, only examined, unable to, not specifically designed, not to be transferable, not be applicable, not include, main weakness, not addressed, cautions, not possible, These words are used by different authors to represent and introduce the research gaps that are present in their studies. This was all about the limitation-based signal words or phrases, and we end this session with the hope that you have become fully aware of these indicators and will now be able to easily identify limitation-based research gaps in any article or thesis. Now, all you need to do is to identify sentences containing any of these words or phrases in an article or thesis and look if they possess any gap or gaps for you. The future recommendation-based research gap signal words or phrases will be discussed in the second part. Thank you and kindly like and share this video with your friends.